A very warm welcome to all teachers. I hope you all are having a nice learning experience with the pre-conference videos that are being uploaded. I think it's an excellent resource material for all of us to use and implement it in our lesson plans. I am Dr. Anushi Diwan, and I will be attending the conference in New Delhi on April 7 and 8. And as a part of the pre-conference series, I am sharing a few best practices that I think can be used in our daily teaching. All of them, all the lessons that I'm sharing are all based on STEAM and they all target the 21st century skills. So I hope it's beneficial and I hope it's useful to whoever who's watching it. I have already uploaded 3 videos and I think they are being well reviewed. So please do go and watch those. Today, I will be sharing another lesson plan that targets the theme 5 senses. It can be used, you can modify it, change it according to your needs. But I think it's a good lesson plan for anyone to implement. I'm going to share my screen. So a warm welcome again. I'm extremely glad to be doing this, and I feel it's a best thing to share practices and resources. So I'm really glad to be here and doing this video and sharing a lesson plan for this particular theme, which is understanding the 5 senses. A little bit about myself. I am an academic lecturer and I teach biology to the IBDP students at DSB International School in Mumbai. And I'm also very passionate about implementing STEAM in your regular lesson planning. I am also the extended learning coordinator in my school and I deal with a lot of advanced learners. And I personally feel one of the best ways to support advanced learners is through STEAM and its implementation. So I am extremely happy to be conducting this session. This session ideally targets the first week of March. And like I said, it's about 5 senses. Every day of the week is dedicated to one sense. Monday being sight, Tuesday hearing, Wednesday smell, Thursday touch, and Friday taste. The lesson plan that I will share with you today is thoroughly based on play-based learning. There are a lot of activities that are closely associated with STEAM. Students will have a lot of hands-on exploration. And while exploring, they will develop observation skills, curiosity, and also sensory awareness. So I have learning goals for each day, but the broad learning goal for this session can be sensory exploration and awareness, where the lesson or the week should help children recognize, describe, and engage with their senses through hands-on discovery and observation. And the second learning goal can be scientific thinking and communication, where students develop observation, prediction, and language skills by exploring sensory experience. So what we'll do is we will go day-wise, and for every day, what I'll do is I'll suggest a learning goal and an activity to support the learning goal. So day one is sight, which is your eyes seeing. And the learning goal for this particular day can be recognize colors, shapes, and objects. So 3 things. So using eyes or using sight as the sensory organ, students will be able to differentiate between different colors, shapes, and objects. And obviously, students will be able to associate eyes with seeing. So how light helps us to see objects. Now, the slide is a little too much of text is there on the slide, but that's because I have added 2 activities. So what you can do is in order to introduce this concept of sight to students, you can have many activities, but this particular slide focuses on 2 specific activities. The first one is color hunt and the second one is shadow play. Now, this is a 25-minute lesson plan that I have suggested, but of course, it doesn't have to be 25 minutes. It's obviously going to depend on the number of students you have. So you can obviously extend any activity or decrease the time if required, but more or less in a day, you should be able to target both these activities. The first one is color hunt, where you give each child a color card, like say a red card, a blue or a yellow, and you ask students to go around in the room and find objects that match their color. Obviously, you will have to, as a teacher, before the lesson begins, you will have to place certain colored objects in the room, and the students can then go and find them. So as a pre-lesson planning activity, you will have to set certain objects everywhere in the room. So it's going to be like a treasure hunt sort of a thing. And every child will go around taking the object and matching it. It's matching mine, it's not matching mine. So all that you can have for like 10 minutes. And at the end of it, when the activity is over, you can encourage discussion. The guiding questions can be what color is your object, what shape it is, where did you find it, how many objects did you find, what were the other colors you saw when you were finding your color, specific color. So you can encourage discussion by asking such guiding questions. Students will be able to differentiate between different colors. The next activity that you can do is a shadow play, where what you do is you use a flashlight. So you have a dark room and you can use a flashlight. It can even be a phone flashlight or a torch, and you use objects to create shadows. And then you move the object closer and farther away, and you see how the size of the object changes. And then you can ask children to make different hands. I will show you an image to support what am I saying, but you can ask children to make certain hand gestures and they will be reflected on a wall or wherever you are reflecting. And this is again a good activity because you can correlate the concept of light hitting the eyes and the eyes using the light to see objects. And you can ask questions in the end, like what happens when we move the object? How does light help us see? Why can't we see in the dark? The room is completely dark, but what is this light doing that is helping us see the objects? Can we make the shadows bigger or smaller? I mean, you can, like, if you have a bigger class or if you have a higher level class, you can even dive into the concept of how the shadows are formed, like light reflecting, transmitting, all of that. So this is an excellent activity again for students to understand a lot of theoretical concepts in science. So these are the two activities you can do. See, now again, the concept over here is that students know that eyes will help you see. That's a one-line statement. Your eyes help you see. But by doing such an activity, by doing this play-based learning method, they will be able to link better to the concept. So when you're doing the shadow play, you are connecting light, eyes, and sight. So it's a good way to explain the concept of sight, or explain the eye as a very important sensory organ. Like in the dark, you can ask students to shut their eyes, shut their eyes, and they're like, I can't see anything. Now open your eyes. You can see the different colored objects. So what is happening? The eyes are letting you see the different colored objects. If you close your eyes, you can't see anything. The moment you open your eyes, you can see. But if it's a dark room, and even if I open my eyes, I can't see anything. So that's because the light is falling on my eyes and it's helping me see. So light is associated with sight, something like that. After this activity, of course, you can have a wrap-up discussion where you recap the key points, just like I did, and you talk about colors. You say colors are everywhere, and you can even ask, like, what colors are you wearing today? And then you can talk about shadows, and shadows are formed when light is blocked. You can move objects and talk about how the shape changes, the size changes. And as a part of lab to life, you can ask students to explore shadows in their daily lives. You can tell them that when you're going back home in afternoon after school, try and see, look at the ground and see if there are any shadows being formed. If you're with your parent, does your mother or father have a longer, taller shadow than you? So you can ask children to explore this part in their daily life. So some pictures to help you understand. This is basically play-based learning. So you can either give a card, or this is basically they put a card on the ground and the students have found different objects and placed it on the relevant cards. This is basically helping differentiate between colors. Also how your eyes help you see different colors. And this is a shadow experiment where you put a torch or you put a flashlight and you explain or talk to students about what are shadows and how are they formed and how can they differ. So this is all for day one. Again, a lot of STEAM activities and a lot of 21st century skills also that will be ticked off at the end of this lesson. So I think it's a good idea. Obviously, you can modify it, change it, but these two would be good activities to introduce the topic of sight. At the end of day one, this could be a checklist. Students should be able to identify different colors. Like they should be saying, this is a red, this is a blue, this is a green. And they should be able to understand that their eyes are helping them identify objects. Like if they're saying this is a blue colored car or this is a red car, it's their eyes that is helping them do that. And of course, they should be able to understand that light supports your eyes in identifying objects. So light is important. And at the end of day one, they should be able to get that concept. Right. So that was day one. Day two, hearing. So the sensory organ is your ears. And for this, your learning goals can be students should be able to identify different sounds in the environment and understand how ears help us hear. Again, along with being STEAM based, all these activities are something that will help students related to their actual life, like shadows. This one, again, the activity that I will be suggesting, students can use it and they can kind of relate it to their everyday life. Okay, so the activity for this would be exploring sounds. What you do is, the first 10 minutes, you play different recorded sounds. You can find all these sounds online. There are excellent YouTube videos that will share some sounds, or there are even some softwares, even some apps that have pre-recorded sounds. So you can download those and you play them. And after you play a sound, like every sound, you stop, you pause, and you ask the child or ask children, what do you think this sound is? So they can be like, it's a bird, it's the sound. I think they might not be able to differentiate which bird it is, but they might just be like, I think this is a bird. I think this is the sound of an animal. I think this is a sound of honking, of cars, traffic. I think this is the sound of a temple, a bell in a temple. I think this is the sound of a train. So they will be able to differentiate, listen, pause, reflect. Once they've like reflected, then they always say, oh, miss, I think this is the sound of a train. So then you can build on that answer. So do you think the sound is loud or it's soft? Now they might not know what is a loud sound, what is a soft sound. So you play it for them. Loud sound is something that's very, very high. You can talk about pitch or something, I'm thinking, but you can just say loud. Loud is something it really rings into your ear, and soft is something which that it doesn't ring so well in your ears. So you can introduce the concept of loud sound, soft sound, and then you can even ask children to make it personal. Do you like the sound? Why do you like it? Why do you not like it? So students can say, I like this sound because I hear it every day outside my house. There are birds that make such a sound, so I like it. I don't like this sound because it's very annoying to my ears. So children can even give their personal opinions on what they think the sound was to them. You can categorize them as pleasant and unpleasant sounds. Pleasant sounds, like I said, can be birds or soft music, and unpleasant can be loud horns, sirens, all of it. So build up upon the conversation you are having. So there are no fixed questions that I have put over here because those questions need to be asked by you based on where your lesson is going. And then you can even discuss, why do some sounds feel nice? Why do some sounds don't feel nice? So ask children, like, if you're telling me this is an unpleasant sound, why is it unpleasant? So they can come up with different answers and you just build up on that answer. Another activity. So this was basically to understand how a sound can feel from person to person, how can it vary? And in order to demonstrate how ears help you listen, what you can do is you can cover one child's ears and play a soft sound, soft one. So you have like ask a child to come in the front, and then you cover the child's ears softly, and then you play a soft music, and everybody else will be able to hear, but the child whose ears are covered. And then do it for like a minute, and then you uncover the ears and you ask, could you hear the sound that I played? The child will say, no, I could not. So then you say, okay, now what we're going to do is we're not going to cover your ears and we're going to play the same sound. And you repeat the sound. And then you say, now could you hear the sound I played? The child will say, yes, I could. So then you say, okay, what is the only difference in the two? So they will say that in the first scene, my ears were shut, so I couldn't hear. In the second, my ears were not shut, so I could hear. So ears are helping me listen to sounds around me. So that will link the concept of the sensory organ ears to listening. This is again a good activity, and you can do it with like multiple people. You can ask one, in order to build collaboration, you can ask one child to cover the ear of the other, and just build some sort of collaboration and working together concept. In the end, you wrap it up. You can ask different questions, and you can talk to them about how different sounds exist. As there is always some or the other sound, and they will ask you in the night. Also, there is no sound, but we still hear. So you can say those are probably it's just the sound of some birds in the night who are like chirping or something. It might be different than the sound of the birds who are chirping in the morning, but there are some or the other, there will be some or the other sound surrounding us all the time, and our ears help us listen to it and differentiate it. Like this, you can, like I said, like guess the sound. This is a game. It's an online game that you can play and guess the sound. You can get these musical instruments. I'm sure a lot of preschools have these basic musical instruments. You can play them and ask students to identify or just like close the ears, play, and then uncover the ears. And this is a game. You can also do Chinese whispers, which is again an excellent game where you ask one child to whisper a word into another child's ears, and then ask the child to say it out loudly. And you say how your ears are helping you perceive that information. You will need some audio clips, some small drums or any musical instruments, or even some clapping, like you can clap or even stop. So you don't need a lot of fancy things, for this activity. Anything that makes sound, absolutely, including clapping, is what you can use for this activity. Again, a lot of STEAM and 21st century skills being achieved through this activity, and listening, critical thinking, collaboration, all of it. Right. At the end of day 2, students should be able to recognize different sounds, pleasant, unpleasant, good, loud, soft, should be able to make their own sounds, clapping, and they should be able to relate ears to listen. That was day 2. For day 3, the sensory organ is nose, and smell is the concept that we need to teach the students. So the learning goal can be that students should be able to identify different scents, different kinds of smells, and be able to describe them again, whether it's a good smell, it's a bad smell, pleasant, unpleasant. And obviously, again, recognize how nose helps us to smell. Now, this is a very common activity called exploring smells, sniff and tell. So what you have to do is, we need some jars. You have to fill like 5-6 jars with different scents. And where do we get these scents from? You can get it like, it can be like a lemon or some coffee powder, vanilla sticks, vanilla bean sticks, some kind of soap. So like jars, closed jars. And then what you have to do is, when it's time for this activity, you open the jars and you ask children to sniff. And you ask them questions, guiding questions like, what do you think this smell is? Have you smelled it before? So maybe lemon, they'll say, yes, I have. Maybe coffee, they'll say, yes, I have. You can have tea or something, and they'll be like, yes, whatever. And then you ask them, what do you think it is? Some food. It looks like some soap. So, and then you can ask them to categorize whether that was a good smell or whether it was an unpleasant smell. And they might not know the words again. So we have to help them identify the difference between the terms. Pleasant is something that you like to smell. It's a good, sweet smell. And unpleasant is something that kind of irritates your nose, which you don't like to smell. And so you can ask questions like, do you like the smell? Is it strong? Is it not so strong? Is it pleasant? Not pleasant? And you can even compare which smell was the strongest, which one was the sweetest. And again, you can have them move in circles, like you can have your classroom arranged into a circle, and then ask students to move from one setup to another, to the third, to the fourth. And each setup will have a jar. And students can sniff, and then they can share what they feel about the smell. At the end of this, you wrap it up again by asking questions, and obviously building up on that, you can like recap the key points, saying different objects or different things have different smells, and some smells are pleasant, some are not. It's our nose who helps it identify whether it's a good smell or not. And obviously, you have to encourage students to notice scents in their surroundings. At home, maybe, or when they're coming to school or the road, is there any specific smell that they can recollect or they smell it every day? So you can ask such questions. Some small jars you will need for this, objects like lemon, coffee, all of that. You can even have cotton balls for soaking scents. Like if you have a perfume or something, you can soak a cotton ball in it and put it in a jar. And if you want to extend it, because this activity might be done in say 15 minutes. So if you want to extend it, you can even give them some art to do and like draw. Like if I like the smell of lemon, try and draw a lemon, or some form of like an artwork to extend this activity. And these are just some pictures. Like, see, these are smell jars. So this has lemon, basil, cinnamon, char, anise, all of it. And students will come and sniff. And you will get some really weird expression like this boy over here who's just putting his tongue out because he doesn't like it. So this is a good thing. Over here again, see how a teacher is explaining how to sniff, because students won't know. They will just get the jar close to their nose and they won't know what sniff means. You might have to tell them, okay, take a deep breath inside. That's what sniffing is. So that your teacher is explaining to all students what sniffing is. Again, your teacher has given different jars and each student is sniffing a jar. And another excellent thing with this activity can be you can smells of nature or sense of nature. You can ask if you have a small garden in your school or in your locality, you can plan a visit where you can ask students to smell different flowers or different leaves and you tell them, what do you smell? Is it a good smell? And you can tell them how nature has its own unique smell. You can talk about how the smell is when it starts to rain and the damp soil. So, sense of nature. So you can take them out for a visit and maybe help them identify the different smells in nature. Again, sleep connection and developing sensory awareness, curiosity, communication, a lot of skills achieved through this activity. And at the end of day 3, students will be able to identify and name different smells. They should be able to explain how the nose helps you smell. And they should be able to kind of differentiate between smells they like, smells they don't. Okay, for day 4, it's touch. So skin is the organ, and the learning goal can be that students should be able to understand how the skin helps us feel. And they should be able to explore different textures, smooth, rough, soft, bumpy, different textures. And the way you can achieve this learning goal is through an activity called the mystery touch box. What you do is you place textured objects into a box and you place the box in a way that the students cannot see it. And then you let the students put their hands inside the box and feel the object. And then give them some time to feel it. And then you ask questions like, what does that object feel? And then you give them certain adjectives. Is it soft? Is it rough? Is it smooth? Is it bumpy? They might not know the difference between all. So if your class is really young and if they don't know, let them just say whatever they want to. It's not compulsory. They have to stick to these 4 words. They can just use any adjective and it's fine. If you have a higher grade, then maybe they should be able to use specific adjectives. But with younger kids, just let them say whatever they feel like. And then you ask them to guess what it is if they can. And then you reveal the objects one by one. So you can have one object and you call everyone, okay, put your hands inside and tell me what you feel. And then when the entire class is done, you can reveal the object. And then you can place all the objects in front and you can encourage children to describe the objects, like which object was the softest, which one felt the most rough, which textures you like, which textures you don't like. How do you think you're able to feel it? What is the only thing that's touching the object? Your eyes can't see them, your ears can't hear it, you cannot smell it. So what is the only thing that's helping you feel that object is your skin. So skin, touch, you can link it like that. So you say that all your other sensory organs were detached from that object. The only sensory organ that was attached to the object was your skin, and you were able to feel it. So you can link it to the concept of skin and touch. Look at this. Like these are mystery boxes where the student just puts the hand and you can't really, the student can't see it. Like, see, this is a rough object, or this silk cloth may be smooth. You can also have it if it's a very young class, you can just differentiate into two categories, hard and soft. Or if it's a higher grade, you can have it like flurry, slippery, smooth, rough. Here again, two students are touching it and trying to discuss what do they think it is. So you can again make it collaborative. Pair them up, ask them to put their hands inside and ask them to discuss, and then ask them to share it with the entire class. You don't need to really go resource hunting for this activity. Anything, absolutely. Leaves can do, soft cotton can do, soft cloth can do, hard Legos or bricks or blocks can do. So you don't really need to go resource hunting. Almost all things will be available in a preschool classroom. Okay, so just a box with different textured objects, cotton, sandpaper, some feathers, some soft sponge, texture cards. Also, a lot of texture cards are available online. You do get, I think, a lot of textured cards. You can even buy them. And a small blindfold optional. If you're unable to cover the box, then you can blindfold the child. So this activity again has its own STEAM connection and 21st century skills. And at the end of day 4, students should be able to describe different textures. Like I said, the adjectives. Adjectives can vary. There are no specific terms that they're expected to learn. They should be able to guess at least a few objects. It can be something, some toy or something that they regularly play with. And they should be able to explain how skin helps you feel. You can also extend it in a way, like give them a warm object, ask them to touch it, and give them maybe ice and ask them to touch it. So hot and cold. You can also do a differentiation between hot and cold. And why are you feeling hot? It's because of your skin. Why are you feeling cold? It's because you're touching it. It's the skin. So even that can be a differentiation. And for the last day, it's taste. You recognize, so the learning goal for this is that students should be able to recognize different tastes. And they should understand how tongue helps you to differentiate and identify different tastes. And this can be done easily by an activity called taste test, where you give children small bites of different food. And obviously the foods should be different with respect to their taste. So some sugar, lemon, salt, dark chocolate. So different categories like sweet, sour, salty, bitter. And ask them to taste it. And first of all, ask them, like, do you think you know what this is? Have you tasted it before? What does it taste like? Do you like the taste? Do you don't like the taste? What is the only thing that is helping you detect the taste? It's a tongue. Which one do you like the most? Which one was the strongest? Can you name other foods that taste similar? Again, you can really build up on this activity. And then you can ask children that link it, like, what did you eat before coming to school? And how do you think that tasted? Was it sweet? Didn't it have no taste? Was it salty? What was it? And then as a very good control variable or a control experiment rather, you can give them water and ask them to uh, find out or discuss whether water has a taste, because a lot of students think, younger kids, water has a taste, but it can really vary. So you give them plain water and you tell them to taste it, and then they can say not a very strong taste to almost no taste, and then you squeeze a little bit of lemon in it. Oh, now it's tasting sour. Or you put a little bit of sugar in it. Oh, now it's tasting sweet. So we can say how water by itself is neutral in taste, but when you add things to it, it builds on the taste. So you can move around this activity, but the whole idea is that you give an experience. Also, young kids, when you give them some food to eat in class, they get very excited. So this can be a good way to get them all excited in the test, because say it's a last day, maybe they're bored, maybe they're tired, it's a Friday. So doing this taste test will really help them, get into the class and get interested. You will need some small food samples. Again, like I said, if you want to extend it, you can always have some form of art for them to draw their same or favorite foods. And you can even have a chart to record taste preferences. Like you can have names and you can say like, okay, student A, sugar. Student B likes salt, or whatever chips which are salty. Students C like spicy. So you can have like a chart to record the taste preference. Again, this is something that you can do. I taste with you can always have posters like this, and then different foods kept: spicy, salty, sour, sweet. Again, different foods kept over here, and then you can maybe blindfold one person and ask the other child to give, put some food into the blindfolded child's mouth, and then ask them to discuss. Again, decision making, communication, curiosity, lot of skill development through this activity. And at the end of day 5, students should be able to identify different tastes, describe what foods taste like. Some foods might be salty, some might be sweet, and they should be able to explain how tongue helps them taste. So this was it. This is something that you can use in your lesson plan to teach this concept. But of course, you can modify it, change it based on your class. And if you think there are some other activities that can be incorporated into teaching this concept, please let me know. You can post comments or you can ask questions, and I'll be happy to help and connect. But it'll just be much better if there is communication and interaction both ways. So you can please let me know if you have any doubts, or if you need any more resources, or if you want to share something that can support with this lesson plan. It'll be lovely to see that. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.